Little did Sergei Skripal know this day in 2018 would change not only his life, but the quiet city of Salisbury and the diplomatic balance across Europe. It was March 4th when the former Russian military intelligence officer and his daughter Yulia were found slumped on a bench in a suburban shopping area. At first, the scene looked like an ordinary medical emergency. Within hours, British counterterrorism police and scientists were saying something far darker had occurred. A military-grade nerve agent, Novichok, had been used on UK soil. To understand the shock, you must go back 2 decades. Sergei Skripal had been a GRU colonel who, in 2004, was arrested by Russia and convicted of spying for Britain. In 2010, he was released in a swap and resettled in the English countryside. For years, he lived quietly, or so it seemed. Investigative journalists and diplomats had long suspected that eliminating traitors abroad was part of a pattern. The Salisbury attack became the most brazen public demonstration of that suspicion. British investigators moved swiftly. The chemical signature confirmed a Novichok-class agent, a Soviet-era nerve weapon developed for battlefield use, and, by its very nature, implicating a state-level program. CCTV footage and travel records led police to 2 men who had flown from Moscow under the names Ruslan Boshirov and Alexander Petrov. The United Kingdom accused them of being Russian intelligence operatives. Russia responded with denials and an alternative narrative. These were ordinary tourists. The episode, a staged provocation. Independent open-source investigators, most prominently the journalism collective Bellingcat, dug into passport images, service records, and obscure Russian databases. They published evidence that the 2 men were in fact GRU officers using aliases, identities later connected to Anatoly Chapaiga and Alexander Mishkin. The reporting matched forensic timelines, placing the suspects in Salisbury the day before the attack, in restaurants, and outside the park where the Skripals sat. The fallout was immediate. The United Kingdom, convinced the Russian state had been involved, led a coordinated diplomatic response. More than 20 countries expelled Russian diplomats in solidarity with London. Russia retaliated in kind. International trust frayed. NATO allies issued warnings and sanctions, but the fallout was not only diplomatic. Novichok's persistence as a contaminant turned ordinary places into danger zones. Weeks later, in nearby Amesbury, 2 more people were poisoned. Don Sturgis would die in July from exposure after handling a discarded perfume bottle contaminated with Novichok. A public space had become a weaponized crime scene. At the heart of the conspiracy was a simple and chilling calculus: a state-sanctioned attempt to silence a former agent on foreign soil, followed by a campaign of obfuscation. Official Russian statements varied between denial, mockery, and alternate explanations. Independent investigators and British authorities converged on the same conclusion. The attack bore the hallmarks of an organized operation by Russian intelligence, executed with materials that require state-level access, yet accountability remained elusive. The 2 men named by London never faced trial. They returned to Russia and publicly insisted they were innocent tourists. The British government released an arrest warrant and extensive dossiers of evidence, but prosecutions were impossible without custody of the suspects. For families of victims and for Europe's security planners, the unresolved nature of the case felt like a precedent, a powerful actor willing to conduct covert violence beyond its borders and to employ disinformation to muddy the waters. Salisbury exposed more than a single crime. It revealed a modern playbook, targeted assassinations using chemical weapons, followed by a deniable cloak of lies designed to intimidate dissenters and destabilize adversaries while avoiding direct military confrontation. The Skripal case sits alongside other high-profile poisonings in Europe over the past 2 decades and has become a touchstone for debates about norms, deterrence, and the limits of legal recourse. Years on, the bench in Salisbury is ordinary again, but the questions remain. Who, in Moscow, authorized the operation? Will international institutions ever marshal the power to bring such perpetrators to justice? For Sergei and Yulia Skripal, who survived an attack meant to kill them, the answer came at the cost of privacy and safety. For Europe, the attack marked a new, unsettling chapter, a reminder that state violence can cross borders in stealth, and that truth, once weaponized, must be relentlessly pursued.